Star Trek 57, M23, take 2.
Star Trek podcast.
You said she was a doctor, right?
And a good one. But I haven't spoken with her for over 20 years. And neither has any other member of the old crew. She just cut us off. So why contact me now?
Well, you were close once. And when you were on the Enterprise, you trusted each other with your lives. You even tried to be lovers, didn't you?
Tried is the operative word.
But maybe you're the one person she still feels she can trust.
But to say no Starfleet?
Okay, so as a former intelligence operative, here's what I'm seeing. This isn't paranoia. Her fear is genuine. This is a woman out of options, and she is asking you to help. Only you.
Today's episode of It's Got Star Trek will be preempted by an episode of It's Got Poopy. Poopy, episode 72. It's Got Poopy, episode 72. Today on It's Got Poopy, we talk about poopy for the 72nd time.
Can we just get started? Can we get started?
Yeah,
All
let's
right.
do it.
Let's
do
go.
it.
Go time.
Who is that weirdo?
Showtime. Go time.
Who is that weirdo?
It's got Poopy Man.
This is always troublesome. We got to do the extra stuff because it's the new shows.
It's a new one.
We always get new people, new listeners whenever there's new episodes on. So we have to, introduce ourselves a little. So
We're not just talking about old Star Trek.
No. Now it's got Star Trek. This is the
my
It's Got-
algorithm's
Now it's got topicality.
My algorithm's gonna get rusty.
Well, we don't even need your algorithm for a while. Okay,
That's what I'm saying. It's gonna get rusty.
Let's not confuse people. Okay.
No,
first,
you confused yourself.
Rusty
welcome to the
algorithms.
It's Got Star Trek podcast. This is episode 172.
Oh,
I thought it was 181.
No, it's 172.
181.
Why did I think it was 181?
I couldn't,
Last week was 171.
I couldn't tell you why you thought that. because
Maybe you
it's-
mixed up your.
Maybe I thought it was 170,
Place
then
values.
180. When you said
It may
171,
be-
I thought it was 180.
It may be that there are 181 pieces of content on the RSS feed if you count the various bonus episodes.
No,
and
that's
other,
not it.
Other things. Well, I'm just tossing it. I'm just trying to give you something.
I think I
I'm
know.
trying to give you something to not look like a fool.
No, I'm explaining what happened. 2 weeks ago, we said 170. Then the next week, we said 171. Instead of upping that digit, I upped the tens digit and made it 180. Instead of 171, I said it's 180.
That makes perfect sense to me. I would have done something similar. Okay. That having
He's gotten
been,
good at shutting me up.
That having been resolved.
It's resolved. It's resolved. Agreed? Agreed, Dan? I don't think so, actually. What are you trying to do, Patrick?
All
You
right.
trying to make me mad or something?
Okay, we do get to the Star Trek swiftly. Don't worry, new folks.
There's a swift kick in the keister.
We try not to dilly dally. We try to
It's
get
coming.
right into the Star Trek.
Star Trek's coming.
That was Dan who was talking about the business, and then that's Jesse is the other person, and I'm Patrick.
That's me.
Those are names.
I'm still doing the
Generally, when you're
episode.
listening to a podcast, you don't give a damn who's who or what the names go with the which.
Am I in the right
voice.
podcast? No, you're in the wrong podcast. We're doing a different podcast now.
If you end up liking the podcast,
I thought we were doing It's Got Poopy. No,
Then
it's got Star Trek.
then you might learn to figure out the names.
This fucking
and
guy.
there might be some value in the names later, so we do periodically mention them. But otherwise, generically, a generic podcast listener,
Generically.
you wouldn't care. All right. So what are we discussing this week? Well, this week and for the next number of weeks, that number presumably being
Next
9, we will be discussing
I don't know the number. Man.
Season 3 of Star Trek Picard.
Yeah.
Each new episode as they are released.
Star Trek Picard.
And the third and final
That's how the
season,
song goes.
presumably, of Star Trek Picard. So that's what we're here to do. this evening. I think that was the main thing we had to
That's most of the guts, I think.
mention. Yeah. We do spoil things. I don't know. I guess it's useful to mention that every time.
Oh, we're going to ruin it.
I spoil
altogether.
myself
I mean,
every evening.
We have presumed you've seen the new episode, which is, in this case, this is season 3, episode 1, titled The Next Generation.
Yeah, it's funny they would call it
Clever.
that.
Clever.
Just make no bones about it.
So we presume-
it's all the same people.
We presume you have seen that
Well,
episode.
Some of them, anyway.
Another thing we that is important to know is that we like Star Trek. So we're not one of those podcasts that are going to be all like,
This was really
they ruined the
terrible.
Star Trek. No, that doesn't mean we won't have critiques.
I don't want to see
we're allowed to
some
be
criticisms
we're
and
allowed to be
stuff.
critical of it.
Yeah, but we're watching Star Trek because we enjoy.
Yeah.
We enjoy
We wanted
watching.
to watch
it's a television program that we
Right.
generally enjoy.
This is a show about how we like Star Trek.
The majority of the time, we enjoy it
I'm not
from
gonna, we're
some
not
aspect
we're
or
not
another.
forcing ourselves to watch it
A
so we
good
can
thing.
be outraged for no reason.
No.
Like
It's
like if we didn't like it, we wouldn't watch it, and we wouldn't start making it a mission. Like we wouldn't brigade around the internet telling people why it's terrible and it's ruining
and
something.
If that's what you're into,
Society, it's ruining
if that's what you're
society.
into, I think
Unfortunately-
that's pretty fucking lame.
and you have a lot of options out there, so go
Yeah.
elsewhere, because this will only aggravate you if you listen to this podcast.
Look, if you don't like it, it's fine. It's just like when people make it a point to like go bust a move everywhere, it gets a little. It's just like, what are you trying to do?
Interesting,
Do you like wasting your own time?
interesting choice of phrase.
Bust a move.
I'm not.
Bust a move.
Bust a move.
I've never quite heard it in a pejorative sense.
Yeah, I don't
It's
think
like
I
that's
ever
like
either.
Funky Cole Medina.
Right. Back
Yeah.
to the principal's office again.
Okay,
Just
all
bust
right.
a move.
So we will now discuss the episode in a very rough, or going timeline order, straightforward,
Yes.
flowing through time, going forward,
I like to flow through time.
good old fashioned forward in time,
I want a new adventure.
Yes.
New adventure.
That was a long one.
I mean, you could have cut it off.
I could have. I was considering maybe I should have, and then I was like, no, I'm just gonna play it out. And then I learned. We learned
It's
something.
show business.
We do learn. All right. So a couple programming notes. So we will be talking about the episodes soon enough. Don't worry about it.
Which episode is that?
The Next Generation.
Yeah.
Star Trek Picard, Season 3, Episode 1 of the final season.
You have the correct podcast.
Yes, you do. And we have a few features. One of our features is odds and ends that comes at the end of the episode. We will offer some predictions as to where the story is going to go, but mostly we'll keep that towards the end of the episode as well. I was also thinking we should introduce a new concept this week called Yayas and Nine Nines. Yayas are things that are awesome, and Nine Nines are things that you think are really stupid.
Oh,
Didn't you-
okay.
didn't
We've
you-
had a similar concept.
didn't
There's
you-
just different labels.
Did
Did we call it something different?
Well, you came up with something, and you called it something else.
It was called like
Well, there was something in Fizbin, but that
No.
was like 3 items and 1 item was false. 3 trivia items.
We'll have to go through the tape.
no, but
'cause I don't
there
remember
was
what it
one where it was like what was cool and what was silly. But I forget what.
I think
you,
it
you
was-
called it something.
You called it. Was that
some other silly
was
names.
was that jivin' or was that divin' or something like that?
It was like that. It was.
But it
I
was
don't
a
think
Star
it was
Trek term.
precisely
Yeah.
that.
Well, it was
but
kind of your own term.
No, it was like it was that was happening or that was
Oh, was it?
crapping
Was it
but
based
wasn't
on?
that either.
Was it based on
Corbomite maneuver?
Was it based on Cristobal?
It might have been something related. You mean Cristobal Rios from
Yeah.
seasons 1 and 2 of Star Trek Picard?
Yes, Cristobal.
Yes. Yes. It's just the problem is when you say it, it sounds like the name of a stripper.
Oh,
Crystal Ball.
Crystal
no, I
Ball.
said Cristobal.
Yes, it's Crystal Ball.
I'm saying Cristo. Cristobal.
Anyway, those are previous seasons, and apparently none
It's
of
the
those
proper
none of
pronunciation.
those characters matter anymore.
Making fun of the proper
All right.
pronunciation.
Well, regardless, it doesn't matter what we call it. I was just, we'll note some things that we thought were particularly awesome and things that we thought were particularly problematic.
Yeah.
Well, most of them maybe at the end, but periodically throughout the discussion as well. Okay, so I think we've done the basic laying of the groundwork. Dan can play sound effects. Jesse has got
Some limited sound effects.
He's got a piano. Jesus Christ! What was
Whoa, yeah.
that? What was that?
that was loud.
Was that the sound of one of those alien creatures? I don't like that. You know what they sound like? What is okay? So, all right. The aliens. I haven't seen this on yes, those guys on Reddit or anything yet. I think they sound like the aliens from Fifth Element,
Yes.
right? The Fifth
Yes.
Element at the beginning,
Okay.
you know, when he's all like, "I see
Yes.
light," and then
Yes.
the aliens are all like, it was like, there is only life or whatever.
Oh my God, there was something else from the
Those guys that work for Gary Oldman.
So
Yeah. Well, no,
oh,
they're actually fighting Gary Oldman.
Oh, the ones
when they were
They're fighting
and also
Zord.
when they were on Mtalas Prime, which was the planet of
Terry Matalas is the showrunner, and he named a planet Matalas Prime.
Apparently, it's a sin planet. It's like a whole. It's one of them planets where they do one thing, and that's like a casino planet or something. But it looked like someone was smoking some death sticks. From you're speaking of Fifth Element, wasn't that Fifth Element? Death
That was Star
sticks?
Wars.
Oh,
Star
you're right.
Wars.
Fifth
So you're
Element had the
right.
cigarettes that had the really big filters and a
Right,
little bit of cigarette.
but he's right. The prequels of Star Wars had the he had the but it
And
sounded
then
like
Star Trek had the salt sticks.
But
or
I just
something.
Star Trek's never had
That opera singer lady on God, what is it? You know, they went to it in Lord Galore 3. I think it was Galore 3. The the lady with the many arms playing piano and playing the Klingon.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
So-
Oh man,
So
we are
they
already
never-
off topic. Look at
No, no,
all these new listeners are like, what? Whoa, why did I download
I'm
this?
trying to
These
stay-
guys are so rambling.
trying to-
What is going on here?
I'm
They
tr-
promised me at the beginning that they did not dilly dally.
I'm trying to stay on topic. I was saying Star Trek has never really done the cigarette thing
This
before.
sounds a lot like Dilly Dally.
Although they
did cigars.
Nicholas Meyer put no smoking signs on the Enterprise starting in Star Trek 2, and that pissed off Gene Roddenberry because Gene Roddenberry was all like, "People wouldn't smoke in the future." And Nicholas Meyer was all like, "Yes, they would."
Come on.
Well, I
Smoking's
guess
cool,
well,
dude.
I guess the first return of smoking was Cristobal had a cigar.
yeah, he did.
And
'Cause
then
that guy was
cigarettes.
cool.
Right.
He was cool.
Did it
Can't
look
you
like
tell?
Did it look like Raffi had some kind of snake leaf vape pen at one
Yeah,
point?
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so let's get started with this discussion in the
Beginning.
In we attempt to go in the order.
So okay, I'm going to give you a medley of all. This is all you need to know about the opening scene.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm ready.
That was the opening scene.
It was that was a fairly accurate representation of the opening scene.
Yeah.
First of all, I loved using the same opening as Star Trek 2 in Star Trek 2 it's in the 23rd century ellipses.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's in the 25th century
There
in
were
the
some-
same font.
And that whole the space station we could get to it later. That had some throwbacky feel. To
Oh
it,
yeah. Well, I mean they've had that space station for a long time on Star Trek, going back to TNG and the movies.
But even the way the lights were blinking around the top of the space station, it looked like out of like an older.
well, I
thing.
think we can say right here, this episode at least, I don't know about the season, but this episode is jam-packed full of Easter eggs.
Why don't they
to,
make-
some to better effect than others, I would say.
Why don't they make space stations like squares or circles, like the spheres, like the Borg do? The Borg have the best idea for a ship/space station.
I know, right?
Why do they make it all wobbly bobbly? Because like
Maybe
they're
there's
limited
some-
by technology.
It's
somehow.
human aesthetics.
there can still be some value in aesthetics.
Maybe there's an actual
architectural design.
Maybe there's a functionality to it too. Maybe it helps them stay in orbit better. Or
It could
something.
be that cubicles are great, except they're not because everyone goes insane in them, right? Same thing with cube-shaped
Right, that's true.
space stations, perhaps.
true.
Or
Oh.
spherical space stations.
So
Because
okay.
it just
oblate-
looks like some kind of warehouse.
Oblate
inside
spheroids.
there,
You know, you got your classic oblate spheroid.
That's what
You
works
guys
for
into-
the Borg.
You
But
guys are into oblate spheroids?
I'm
you know?
totally on an oblique.
Yeah, you
spheroid.
goddamn right
So-
you are. Earth is a fucking oblate spheroid.
Hell yeah, dude.
Most of the planets, I mean,
Oh.
all of them should be.
yeah.
So I forgot
Because
this.
of physics.
Wabi sabi.
Yeah,
So there was.
that's right.
So the other two parts of the opening sequence were I didn't make record the first one, but it was that dude in the back, like who sounded like he was. It sounded like he was being captured against his will, but we know because it's Beverly Crusher and what I guess
She was trying to protect him.
trying to protect him. But he gave that look, that sound like, oh no, you're. If it was some other evil character, we would know that character was capturing this person for malice. But because it's Beverly Crusher, we knew it did for good. And then the other part of this opening was.
This message is for Admiral Jean-Luc Picard.
Of course it is.
And that's what
That's what kicks off. And so those 3 parts basically tell us
Like,
what's happening. in the
she's
opening.
gonna say that before she says it.
I thought it was a pretty rad opening.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was cool.
It was cool to see Beverly Crusher kicking ass.
She was kicking ass in a way that you don't usually see her kicking ass. It was surprisingly.
They even commented on it.
Riker comments.
Yeah.
Actually, but that probably was her son who did. Do you think that was her son who did that?
Who did what?
She was totally blasting people.
Well,
She blasted all the people.
well, Riker was like, "This is like cool," or Picard was like, "This was cool,
Yeah,
calculating."
we saw,
And they're like-
we saw Beverly do that,
and
she shot the thing,
right,
and then shot the guy right after.
And it was interesting because they said she doesn't usually do that. And then like Riker fondled the ashes of the dead, which was kind of weird. But, like,
Well, I honestly I disagreed with Riker a little bit in the sense that while Beverly as a character was always about trying to save lives and not do harm and all that other jazz, she also was like down to clown when it came to defending the ship or defending defenseless people or whatever.
Down to clown.
She'd blast away.
Can giveth and taketh away.
My first no or 9-9 or whatever we're going to call it.
9-9.
Our first gold ducat is the cocking of the rifle was not. I wasn't cool with that. That's seems really stupid to have to cock
that was like that.
a phaser
An
rifle.
energy weapon. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
You
like
don't cock an energy.
that
I
was-
didn't like that.
That was some kind of space marine kind of
I
shit.
don't,
So,
want,
yeah.
I don't want them to do that anymore.
Yeah,
That was
it's,
some Warhammer 40,000 or
it's,
something.
It's dumb.
It's an
40K.
annoying anachronisms.
Yeah, it's a weird
We
thing.
can put that
Yeah.
on the list of annoying anachronisms.
Yeah, it was a weird thing to do, but a lot of this episode was, super. Just the sounds alone. There was a lot like
Transformers sound. Yeah, the shuttlecraft later on. I was also not a huge fan of the shuttlecraft having. They went the Star Wars route and made the shuttlecraft sound like a World War I Sopwith, but underwater. It was all like.
Yeah,
That's funny.
I've talked about this game before, Mass Effect, but honestly,
You have talked about
I
it.
have, and
Once or twice.
And Mass Effect is cool, but like it reminded me of Mass Effect with the sound effects because it sounded like that's what Mass Effect sounds like. Is a lot of like arbitrary cocky.
What if it was pronounced Moss Effect?
I don't know.
That's like
what then?
That's like 1 liter of beer in Germany. I think.
Oh man.
Thanks for your help.
Anyway, so we had the opening scene, pretty cool. Kick-ass Beverly whets the appetite for what's happening here. What's going to happen? What's going to go on?
I still don't even know what's going to happen.
And we still don't know, but we have.
I got a lot of questions.
Because we know that 20 years she's disconnected from those people. How old do you think that son is? Is that the son that
Okay,
supposedly
look, we'll get to that. We'll get to that stuff. We'll get to that conjecture in a second because
why not now?
we're trying to go in some fucking order.
Well, you're trying to go in some fucking
Yes,
order.
I am. For the sake of our brand new audience,
Brand new
thousands of
audience.
people who are going to be like, what are all these It's Got Star Trek episodes all about? I'm gonna listen to this this week. I'm gonna listen to this week. It's Got Star Trek because I've been hearing about them for years. And now there's new Picard. I might as well give him a try.
Some old fart.
So we don't want to alienate all those people immediately. We gotta
Fart.
try. Next episode we can be a little more loose.
Doesn't it sound like he's saying farting here?
Fart.
yeah?
It absolutely does.
Now that you've put that
Some old fart.
already
Fart.
thing in our head, it does sound.
Who's saying that?
But what I was trying to say is, we now get to the new opening, which has been made more subtle, truncated.
Subtle bodies.
Very
Some
subtle.
inside baseball right there.
Subtle.
Subtle bodies.
Listen to last week's episode, or the week before. I think maybe the last few weeks it's been a thing.
Subtle bodies.
You got a subtle butthole.
Subtle bodies.
Balana's
I can't even
on
do
it.
it anymore.
He's got
Balana's on it.
that fella's got a subtle butthole. All right, the opening thing. First important trivia is
You
that
talking about the music?
Jeff Rosso got kicked to the curb by Terry Metalis. I'm sure Terry Metalis wouldn't. put it that way.
Terry Metalis.
But he replaced him with a fella by the name of Stephen Barton. And
to do what now?
the music.
Oh, the music.
And I remember reading an interview. Metalis mentioned something about, that he needed this guy because this guy worked on his 12 Monkeys television program.
Oh, okay.
And otherwise, most of his credits are video game credits. I think he's done a great job overall here. but it's just something worth noting when it comes to the opening because they've switched to the TNG fanfare and then with a little hint of the Jeff Russo Picard theme, but it's not the long version of the Picard theme, and they didn't stick with a variation like they did in the first 2 seasons. So, and it was very short. I don't know if they'll lengthen it starting in the next episode. You know, sometimes they do that with premiere episodes. They want to get right to the old tale.
And I think I can say this without having it be considered.
Okay,
It's considered to be too far ahead because it's on topic.
Consider this.
The end credits.
Dan, you are streets ahead.
I am and yet a mile behind. It's the end credits also were different because they had like some kind of
That was an interesting sequence there. At the end.
That was like
it was all marvelly.
and
It was marvelly. I didn't think of that. That was a good way to put it.
But it was also kind of like the old old shows did this where they'd have the end credits be a different tune and they'd show like different images.
And they totally just they did the TNG theme like
And the First Contact.
TNG March.
But you're right, it was
and then also First Contact.
But you're right, it was marvelly because it wasn't showing anything from episodes. It was just showing.
It was
some
just this
graphics.
sequence with like extra stuff.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
I
was digging it.
The very opening, of this was the first season it opened up with Bing Crosby, Blue Skies, and it's just out in space.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this has a very similar to that dream. It's the dream of Data, dreaming of Data.
Yeah.
So that's
Season 1. Star Trek Picard, Season 1, Episode 1, Remembrance.
So it's all relaxed and calm and playing cards. It's very chill, out in space, playing the song. Season 2 begins right in the action. It's just a bunch of shit going on. That one's Time Is On My Side.
What's going on? A bunch of shit, Captain.
That it's playing Time Is On My Side by Irma Thomas. And then this one is
that's right.
Feels very much like the first one, but it's kind of combined with the second one because it's all chill and relaxed, but instead of cutting to a chill poker game with Data, it cuts to a very not chill like scene going on with Beverly Crusher and those like plague doctor aliens or whatever.
Much not chill, yeah.
But that was that classic, the I don't want to let the world on.
Oh yeah.
It's the ink spots.
The ink spots, right. That's what I thought it was.
Which whenever I hear that song, and I think most people know where I'm going to go with this who've played the game or played video games.
Are you going to talk about Mass Effect?
Oh,
no.
They use it on one of those video games.
They use it and it's like
You're talking about Heretic?
No, I'm fucking going to tell you.
Quake?
If you let them tell us.
Seriously.
Tekken? They didn't use that in Tekken. All right, sorry, you may proceed.
Fallout 3.
I wasn't going to guess that.
No, you weren't.
Sure.
A lot of people probably wouldn't guess that, but
I remember that was on a commercial for some video.
I was next going to guess Lemmings because that had a lot of songs in it.
But I think they also played it for commercial. It's a classic kind of feel. It's a classic song you play that sounds all old and friendly, but it like the lyrics make you think of death.
It's
all
also sinister,
yeah.
especially if it's played on a record player.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the kind of music that Picard's into, right? He's into like sort of old tunes like that, or like
it's like
that.
It's kind of like his detective novel.
What's that, Edith Piaf or whatever.
Yes, he did like.
The song they do that fake out the most with is It's a Wonderful World. Like
It's a wonderful world.
They're always playing that song when some people are getting murdered or something like that.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
It's classic.
I see trees of green.
Isn't that song from like some sort of tumultuous time period?
Well, there's also the
something.
James, the once on Her Majesty's Secret Service, which includes the tune,
Secret Service.
which includes the tune. We have all the time in the world. We have all the time. You know that one?
This is my
world. It's the worms.
Some old fart.
Sorry, that didn't respond as
Fart.
quickly.
All right. Well,
my soundboard's giving me issues today. So this also is similar to the last season in that Crusher Crusher sends a message basically saying only Picard can help me. Picard's the only one in the universe that can help me. It sounded a lot like last season where
He's got to use his code.
where BQ was saying the same thing at
The Borg Queen.
the Borg Queen.
Wow,
That's your shortcut name.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Your
Right.
your nickname.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. That was the whole show we did
That
that.
was my shortcut name.
That was my shortcut name.
Ironically, not short. It's longer.
BQ.
So
Borg Queen.
But that's how the second season began with like the only person that could like help with the Borg situation was Picard.
And how did the first season start?
I don't remember.
with
first one?
with an android girl seeking out Picard because
Oh yeah, right. That's
she's
right.
being attacked.
Well,
he's
it's
the
called
only
Star
one that
Trek
can
Picard.
help her.
Well,
Yeah,
it's-
it's the only one that can help. It's Star Trek Picard.
It started with
Picard.
him playing poker with Data.
Picard. Yeah, no, but the point is like what's the premise? That wasn't like the premise.
Yes.
The gimmick is
Yeah.
always somebody calling for Picard's unique help based off of his particular skill set,
Yeah. He's a happening dude.
level of access within Starfleet, and his life experience.
Life experience.
Back at that rifle thing, did you notice like I noticed when she shot the thing with the rifle, it like evaporated like the Marvel blip. Like
Yes.
when everyone blipped out, except it was a red version of the
It
Marvel
was all
blip.
fire.
I
Yeah.
did not notice.
Riker did comment,
Which they did in an episode of Discovery, except it was the gray blip. In one of the episodes of Discovery, something similar, a similar effect happened.
Riker did comment, or Riker and Picard commented on the unusual nature of the vaporization of these particular enemies, which we can talk
They
about.
Did they? I don't remember that.
Yes, well, we can talk
it
about
was-
more when we get to that.
Maybe it was a different sort of weapon that she was using.
Yeah.
That they were like, oh, that's a fucked up weapon.
All right, so we had
that
the whole
fucking
the whole.
You're not
little
talking
bit
about
of
the portal gun, are you?
No, not the portal gun. Okay.
They don't usually focus on the remains after somebody gets vaporized.
Usually
in
they get
Star
totally
Trek.
vaporized.
Yeah, they're totally vaporized. This one like left a fucking skid mark on the floor.
When she warped away, like all those others, like one of those other ships, all like snapped and like got.
Well, it
got
fell
all-
off. That was the one that was boarding them.
Okay.
So somehow the ship was able to warp without keeping it attached. Maybe it was
Oh,
not
that's why it got all
attached well
fucked up.
enough.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Act 1. We've gotten through the extremely brief teaser, and now we're on to Act 1 of the show.
I want to give it to Geordie. I want to give it to Geordie.
I bet you do. Penny. I bet you do.
Chief O'Brien?
Picard is hanging out with Laris, and they're having a charming little conversation. He's all like, blah, blah, memories, man, I don't care.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. But it is a cute little scene here. Then Picard, I guess, is just chilling, signing like Christmas cards or something, or birthday cards or whatever. You know, he's doing like a Bilbo Baggins, writing little cards to people and signing.
And I guess they're going to Chaltalk 4 to retire. Like
Chaltalk 4.
he's moving away from his vineyard for good. I guess
I don't think for good necessarily. She's got an assignment, so
It's temporary.
it's a long term but temporary assignment. So he's just packing up his stuff, you know, because he's not going to be there for a little while, I guess. But
he ain't got much time left. So
he he gets this message from Beverly on her on his old communicator.
This message is for Admiral Jean-Luc Picard.
Yes, and then
You even tried to be lovers.
yes, then exactly. Then he's
Thanks for your help.
he's talking with Laris about this. Which is, you know, it's kind of funny to see the conversations around all the new shows when they come out, because like some people were saying like, Beverly was like, don't tell anyone, and he immediately goes and tells Laris. She's like a Romulan spy. And it's like, come on, you know,
Yeah.
we understood what Beverly meant, and Picard is like going to do whatever he can to help her out.
Yeah, that's really nitpicky. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I just saw that
It's
from
like, just
a
like-
fair number of people.
Like, let it go. What is it? That didn't even occur to me.
Laris is
Maybe I'm
cool,
an idiot, but like, I was just like, if it did occur to me that would be shady, I would be like, it's Laris. I don't know. Like,
There's no Romulan thing anymore. They're
Yeah.
all just spread
Romulus.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not.
I mean,
something
at
to
this
worry about.
point, would we really expect a heel turn from Laris? I don't know.
No, of
I
course
thought
not.
I
Yeah.
thought, aren't they like going out or whatever?
But I mean, that would make it all the more twisty, which I don't know. I can't argue that.
Come on.
Yeah, see, just because you have a twist, this was like that episode of Voyager where they had Tuvok made the holodeck simulator, and then Paris was like wanted to make it a holonovel, and he's like, every story needs a good twist. But then Tuvok was like, that doesn't act within their character. The twist doesn't mean anything if it doesn't act within the character. If you don't
Exactly.
see, anyone can make something unpredictable happen.
Anyone.
You have to do it within the rules of the game. But you know what I always say?
No.
Bilan is on it.
Yes, you do. You have started saying that quite frequently.
Bilan is on.
Recent-
Bilan is on. Bilan is on it.
Recently. All right. Okay. Yeah, so blah, blah, blah. They talk, and that's all entertaining and all that. It is nice to see Chateau Picard. one more time. It's nice to see Laris. Hopefully not the last time.
I think this is all we're going to see, Alaris.
I'm afraid of that. I'm hoping that they get to see each other at least one more time. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they've just set it up that she exists. She played the role of Deanna Troi when she was all talking like, well, looking at Crusher's face, I can tell she's really scared right now. It felt a lot like Troi being like, I can sense apprehension, you know, that kind of thing. But so she was there to say that. She was there to, I guess, be like, okay, she still exists. We can't just like write her out of the story. And I think she's off, and he might meet her at the end. I have no idea what's going to happen, obviously, but
we'll see.
But I don't think she's going to play any role.
Well, yeah.
We'll see.
She's not the other. Well, I just a little far ahead. We can get back to this later, but Captain Shaw, I'm wondering if they're gonna do anything with his character.
What's the deal with that guy?
All right, we'll get to him shortly because first Picard goes to meet up with Riker at Guinan's bar in L.A., 10 Forward Avenue.
Oh, the fat ones?
Yeah.
No one wants those.
No one wants the fat ones.
What was that, Riker?
No one wants the fat ones.
Which one do you want?
No one wants the fat ones.
His
Those are
delivery is
Galaxy
so
class,
great.
young lady.
It's like that clip of Riker in that one episode where he's just like, what? What?
Yeah, he said that line on purpose. Like he was really going for something.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Jonathan Frakes.
He saw that it was like a hilarious line.
And
like,
he gets to
had
do a lot of
potential.
hilarious lines in this episode.
Yeah.
But yes, so that was charming. The concept of selling these little spaceship trinkets was funny.
Yeah.
And then somehow nobody wants to get by the Enterprise.
The Enterprise D.
Why were they calling that the fat? Was that the fat? The Voyager was the fat one. That was the fat one.
I think the Enterprise.
Voyager's all teeny weeny.
But Voyager had a fat gut compared to the rest of his body.
I am agreeing with you, Dan.
I didn't say you weren't. You were like berating me. He's like, Dan, I'm agreeing with you, all right?
I'm agreeing with you.
You're preemptively ending this argument.
No, I'm agreeing with you that
Probably smart.
That it doesn't make 100% sense, but I can see the idea that, it's sort of
what was that one? The
elongated.
Excelsior? That was a fat
Excelsior.
Was the
one. That was
Enterprise
a fucking fat one.
E was skinnier,
With
I
a
guess.
PA.
Right?
E was skinnier.
Titan was, I guess, probably
Yeah.
skinnier.
Well, the Titan's a whole nother thing to talk about.
Whole
Okay, how about
nother.
this? How about this?
Enterprise C was all fat.
Yeah, Enterprise C was like nice and,
Nothing at all.
nice,
Whoa,
nice,
Jesus
nice,
Christ.
nice and sturdy. Was that Ned Flanders? Okay. All right. How about this?
Take a break.
It's time for us to take a break. For our new listeners, we do try to take 2 roughly evenly spaced breaks throughout the podcast. This helps people
Your ad here.
calm down at some point in the future. Horrific ads will be inserted in this
Yes.
when we try
Fart.
to
Capitalism,
monetize the goodwill
capitalism.
that we've built up over the years with our listeners. We haven't
Product
done it quite yet,
placements.
but maybe by the time you're listening to it, we have. We're millionaires and we're total pieces of shit.
I'm
now.
having a Twix.
Well, at the time of this recording, we are not yet pieces of shit. At least not the millionaire variety.
While we're taking this break, I'm going to have a
Could be
Twix.
a regular old pieces of shit. That's possible, but I'll leave that to you to judge. But in the
Where
meantime,
are you going on?
in the meantime, we will be right back. All right, we're back. Jesse has eaten a Twix, and we're all set. We're all ready to go and continue this conversation that we began not too long ago. All right.
Okay, so they are in the place with the bar. The Guinan is selling all the things, and then
Although Guinan's not currently working the bar because
There's no Guinan.
Presumably, they couldn't. They were unwilling to pay
She had her turn last time.
Whoopi Goldberg's fee.
Whoopi Goldberg
such a
is
short
one of those people that has won all of the awards.
She's EGOTed.
She's an EGOT.
She's an early EGOTer,
Yeah.
in fact, as it happens.
Right on.
But
Right on, Whoopi
so
Goldberg.
10 forward is looking fun.
So 10 forward. So this was the line.
They're drinking some Swafford, which
Right.
appears to be
Yeah,
some sort of either
Swafford.
some sort of a whiskey or bourbon,
I think it's bourbon.
but it's not real.
Because somebody makes the point of saying that Riker is a bourbon.
A
drinker.
bourbonista.
The cabin. But that was he meant that sort of in a derogatorily.
offensively.
Yeah, but
Well, yeah, but you could tell. But he's
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right.
It's probably bourbon.
He's not.
It's a made up
He's not
Star Trek
drinking
bourbon.
gin.
Right, no, of course, and
He's
like
not drinking
and
scotch.
that's the fun
He's
is
definitely not
he was
drinking
right
gin.
about Riker drinking bourbon, and it's nothing wrong with. I mean, bourbon, is fine. It's just the way he said it was like just the same way he was like, and he likes jazz, he's like talking. You could
that
tell he was talking down.
It
about
was
it.
uncalled for.
Yeah. Anyways, so we're almost there.
What an
That scene.
asshole, that guy.
Yeah, he is. But so right.
That green shit he was eating. What the fuck was that?
Oh, that was like some fucking spinach that he had to saw with a knife. Like I didn't.
It was a spinach steak.
It was
or something.
yeah, it was.
It looked completely unpalatable.
I had a problem with that
He
too.
dipped it in some kind of funky sauce.
I had a problem. It looked like I bet that was a balsamic reduction.
Oh,
Dan?
Looked like a balsamic reduction.
balsamic reduction.
Looked like a balls.
nuts.
Yeah,
balls.
with some
balls.
with some fromunda cheese.
From exactly.
All right, Dan.
Balsamic.
That's
you
what he was
were-
eating. He was eating Fromunda cheese.
So-
You were edging extremely close to a point.
Okay, edging indeed.
Before your attention was wrenched away by Jesse.
Okay, so they got the Myriad codec, right? In the future, everyone knows what a codec is because like it's common knowledge what a codec is. Most people know now, but not everybody knows what a codec is. Okay, so now they're in the place and they're
What's the word? you're saying?
MKV,
and in the codec it has some data in it, I guess, and then they go
JPEG,
and he meets up with Riker, and Riker's like, who's gonna want to listen to some old farts like me tell you to talk about poo poo? And then Picard is like, well, I'm
giving a speech too.
giving a speech too. And then
Oh my god! Just okay. Again, I do not mean to interrupt you, Dan, but it is because again we do get an influx of new listeners.
do we?
We do every
Isn't
time.
that hilarious?
Every time we do a new.
Who are these
Every
people?
time a show is new, you get new listeners, and they're going to listen to your quote unquote Picard impression. And if they haven't quite gathered the vibe of the show yet,
speech too.
What about that one about
they might be
number one?
they might be concerned
That's a good one, too.
or sort of clinically disappointed, and we want to avoid that. So there's just a warning about that. This is all in good fun. We're just having a good time
Just having a
here.
good time.
You needn't take
If you
anything
haven't figured out, we're having a good time.
too seriously here. We're just having a conversation about
I'm
Star
not
Trek
worried
Picard,
about it. You
season
sound-
3,
you
episode
sound
1.
worried about
We're
it.
hanging
You
out
sound
in
worried
somebody's
about
the
it.
next
basement.
generation.
You're afraid people are going to turn that dial.
I'm not afraid.
Don't turn that
but I
dial.
am concerned.
That's the same fucking thing.
No, it's one of the hallmarks of the English
Oh
language.
boy.
Is we have such a variety of synonyms that have such
just be-
nuanced, slight
Be
differences.
arbitrarily vague whenever you need to be.
That's the English language, baby.
I'm trying to do the exact opposite.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
So
continue your point.
there's Frontier Day.
Yes, there's Frontier Day.
Frontier.
Frontier Day. Actually, no. What I was going back to is Picard was like, I'm gonna give a speech too, and you're in it in your house,
And you were there.
Why, yes, indeed.
Oh man.
Quite. Oh, Batman. I'm going to blow you up.
Are you being Bane? Is that Bane?
No, I'm being I was being what's his name? Nosferatu Picard. What was that guy's name?
Not for what.
Liam Neeson's?
No. What was his name? Shizon?
Oh, Tom Hardy. Yeah, but Tom Hardy was Bane.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Tom Hardy.
But like
yeah.
I was Shinzon as Bane.
Nosferatu Picard.
Nosferatu.
It's a hilariously apt, apt way to put it.
That's true. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Anyways,
I've forgotten what were you saying.
okay. So Riker was like, "Oh yes, that's going to be fantastic," and like
Yeah,
Riker was
it was a
totally
funny joke.
Riker, like I thought Riker was trying to cover his ass.
You know how I put a funny clip at the end of every episode?
Yeah.
That's the clip I'm gonna put at the end of the episode.
Oh wow, neat. Now we all
Is
know.
that clip? Yeah. Normally I don't tell people ahead of time, but
Is it be funny? Would it be funnier
Spoilers.
if you put it at the end, or you decided not to put it at the end at this point?
it would depend on what replaced it.
Okay.
If something really if there was some troll-worthy thing to replace it, and it wouldn't be Rickroll because that's
Some old fart.
because that is it's passe at this stage.
Okay,
It
so
would have to be something quite clever, and I don't honestly think I'm going to come up with something that clever between now and the time I have to finish editing the episode.
okay, so I had a thought about now. You brought up an interesting point though, Patrick?
Thoughts are dangerous
Because you were saying Riker was joking about because Riker's like, I'm stupid and I'm giving a stupid speech that no one cares about, and Picard's like, well, I'm doing it too, and Riker's like, yeah, it's going to be great. You thought Riker was joking? Do you think
There's some banter.
or do you think he was like trying to cover up the fact that he just walked all over like Picard? You know what I'm
I
saying?
think both. It was playful banter.
Because there was a part later.
Picard's an admiral. He's going to give an admiral speech.
Well, because
Riker's going to give a captain speech.
okay, but I'm okay.
It's different politically.
But Jesse states that as if it was just everyone understands what the differences will be.
Right. So my point being is Riker was either ribbing him or just trying to cover up his own mistake, or it was just a lot of good fun. Now Picard,
Just a lot of good fun.
but Picard put his foot in his mouth later when he was talking to 7 of 9. He's like,
totally.
shouldn't you contact the people before you put it in warp 9.9?
He said something ridiculous. That's another 99, by the way, is he's talking about going to warp 9.99, which is fine. But then later, Riker's all like, it's only that way at half warp. And then like, half warp? What does that mean? Do you mean half the total warp capacity of the ship? Or do you mean half of one warp, which
Like-
is the impulse
well, he was talking
speed?
about something like at half warp, double the speed.
But it didn't
split
make
the
sense.
difference.
Because, so
Yeah.
Picard is saying they're going warp 9.999, which is the fastest warp you can go.
He's been at a Starfleet for like 30 years
And
or
then the-
something.
and
like,
then-
like, at least he could study up on what the hell's
I
going
mean,
on.
there's just in
so
the-
he doesn't blow the shit.
Well, I mean, I'm not blaming Picard. I'm blaming the writers in this case for the inconsistency that's confusing
Well,
to
yes.
state that. But anyway, we've jumped ahead of ourselves yet again.
But then Picard got it wrong, and then Riker gave him some good ribbon. He was just like saying, because Picard was like, "Oh yeah, you'll make a great captain." Then Riker's like, you were covering it up." And but then Riker totally puts his foot in his mouth with Sydney LaForge. Remember when he was like calling her Sydney Speed Demon Crash
LaForge.
Crash
Steve-
LaForge.
Crash LaForge, right? And so
I thought that was funny though.
yeah, but like everyone else saw that he was giving her the business. But do you think he realized that he was giving her the business?
course.
You think he was? Because he looked like he was oblivious.
I think he looks like he's oblivious as a defense to his trolling people.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Forge?
Chief O'Brien?
I think that's the thing because he was Riker was a pilot also.
Chief
so
O'Brien?
he was sort of licensed to give people shit.
Flyboys.
So I was trying. Well, my question was he giving shit or was he just oblivious? And that makes more sense that he was giving
My
shit.
question
Of course
is,
he's giving shit.
Chief O'Brien?
why haven't we left?
Forge?
We haven't.
Chief O'Brien?
We haven't left.
Chief
We haven't
O'Brien?
left 10 forward
Forge?
yet.
Chief O'Brien?
Okay.
There's a shady guy was spying on them. Remember?
Okay.
Yeah, saw
We
that
got to
guy.
mention the shady guy because it doesn't
He
come
put,
up
he
later.
put one of them D models. in his
It
drink.
does not come up later.
Yeah, it does not come up later. Right.
It
Shady
will
guy.
presumably
and
come up in the future.
that one has to come up because
It
they
better
didn't-
come up because otherwise it's super weird.
Yeah,
Pretty
right.
stupid otherwise.
It'd be kind of hilarious if it wasn't because it was so they were so blatantly gave no information about him, so obviously they have to bring him up later, unlike Captain Shaw, who you'd think they'd bring up later, but they might not, knowing like what goes on sometimes. So I hope they bring Shaw back, but I have a feeling they might not. Anyways, so then they talk about I was talking about the Myriad Codec, right? Because that was talking about there was some kind of arbitrary business with like there was the Hellbird. Hellbird was
That is a retcon. That is something new that they've introduced. That during the
Right.
Best of Both Worlds debacle,
That doesn't sound familiar.
there was a
part
virus
of what the Borg did to cause problems for the Enterprise D was to introduce this virus that just added 3.
This
to
is
all
why
the
Picard
coordinates.
is better than the Borg, because the Borg were willing to introduce a genocidal computer virus into the Enterprise, unlike Picard, who was not willing to win the fight against the Borg with a genocidal computer virus.
Okay, so another
That's why they wanted him to,
another
to
brief
join.
another brief
They
programming.
must have been thinking about that episode when they talked about Hellbird.
It's important to have insert another brief programming note here for our new listeners. Dan has a long-standing bugaboo when it comes to the episode I, Borg, in which Captain Picard had the opportunity to introduce, as Dan notes, a genocidal virus
The word Hellbird.
to destroy all the Borg. And then
Hellbird.
ultimately opts not to for primarily moral reasons.
It's not quite a bugaboo. It's more just interesting. It just shows you why Picard is different. And
Dan seems to
but
think
I'm-
that
I'm a little-
Picard
it's
would
a
have
little
been
weird.
justified doing it.
I would be.
And he
I know that the
often-
point of the episode
he
is to say
often-
that it's you're supposed to think about
Sure,
those
but
kinds
you
of
don't
things.
have to
I get
agree
it.
with the point of the episode. So that's fine. But
But I get they're making that point.
But my point to the audience is just to make clear that you do have a tendency to insert this point at any opportunity, even if they don't quite make sense, as is the case today.
This was perfectly relevant because it was the same fucking thing.
No, because the Borg, what they're talking about, this Hellbird virus, was not a quote unquote genocidal virus that would have wiped out all of humanity.
Okay, you're right.
It was
just a
only
crippling
messing with.
virus.
It was just messing with the navigation controls.
Which was okay. You're right.
Of the
you're
ship.
right. You're right.
so
You're right.
as a matter of degree,
okay,
which
you're
I
right.
think is important in these contexts.
Okay. Good point.
Thank you.
But there was still a bit of relation. I'm gonna hold. You don't have to agree. I'm not gonna be
Okay.
like, well, just agree with me. We're both a little right?
At the very
You're a little
basic-
wrong. I'm a little wrong about
At the very basic level of utilizing a computer virus in an offensive manner for the purpose of gaining an advantage over one's enemy, yes.
And it happened around the same time.
Yes, those are the same.
Okay, so this computer virus, what it did is, according to Riker, it said.
But a bullet ain't the A-bomb is all I'm saying.
Okay. It scrambled their navigation and added 3 numbers to every digit. So first it scrambled it and it added 3 numbers. How does that how does that result in an important coordinate? The right Ryota system. You see, I'm like, why is that important? Isn't that how they found the Ryota? Is that called the Ryota system? Is that what it's called? The Ryota? Is that what it's called? The Ryota?
Righton system.
Righton system. So basically, they found the Righton system. They found the Righton system because
good call, Jesse.
because they took the navigation and they like added 3. First of all, the board could have done better. Instead of adding 3 to every digit, they should have added like the digits of pi or something. You know what I'm saying? Like they should have
that would make
alternated the
more
numbers
sense.
instead of adding 3 to everyone.
And we
why
mentioned
would they do that if they scrambled it and then added 3? Why would they
mentioned
bother
this,
that?
We mentioned this in our discussion last week.
It seems like scrambling it would have been enough, but to scramble
ship in a bottle.
but scramble and add 3, that's such a redundant number.
When
I
we
don't know.
discussed ship in a bottle, we also talked about how it is commonplace in Star Trek episodes that you have to assume that the characters are doing genius things, even though the things they're describing are not particularly genius.
Well,
whether it's the enemies or the protagonists, it doesn't matter.
Well, the nice thing about technobabble is that it doesn't.
I thought we were going to talk about EDM.
What? Techno.
When you
okay,
said, but then
Nobody
you
says
said
techno
techno
anymore.
babble.
Yeah, so I got
As
you.
opposed to- it's like the nice thing about techno is that it has a steady, regular beat that you can count on, which if you have depressive symptoms, occasionally can help.
Yes.
Because you can predict it and you can feel more comfortable about your environment because it becomes more predictable on the audio plane.
It looks like we just got a window into Patrick's mind a second, just right there.
I also like Weird Al Yankovic, but for other reasons.
He has a lot of songs about like violence against people.
Yeah, he does.
I like Weird Al though.
Me too.
In his commentary on UHF, there's one part where he tells someone to hit him in the head with a crowbar. In the commentary, he's like, "Wow, that was really violent." And I was thinking, like, you have a lot of violent music, but it's hilarious.
He's a vegan, right?
Yes, he is. But he also writes songs about tying girls to chairs and throwing them in the desert while they scream.
He's a creative fellow.
That's all in good fun.
Yeah.
So
it was the 80s.
So technobabble is fine because it ultimately doesn't really mean anything, and it's fine. It sounds fun. It's great. It's just a fun part of Star Trek.
It's part of Star Trek.
Used well.
But when you come up with a complicated explanation for something that, like, when you break it down, doesn't actually mean anything, and I might have just misinterpreted it. Yeah. I'm still not clear. How did they? What my understanding is, they got the coordinates for the Righton system by taking something from the Hellbird virus and like adding 3 to some coordinates. Like, I wasn't clear what the fuck they did.
Okay,
I tried to break it down and it made no sense to me.
Here's my explanation and see if it makes sense or if I'm totally off base. I understood Beverly's reference to Hellbird merely to be a reminder to say, okay, all you got to do is add. I'm sending you these coordinates. Just add 3. That's nothing beyond that. They didn't have to go dig up some special virus, Borg virus, or whatever. It was
Is that
just,
one of your
all she
nays
was
versus
saying,
your yayes?
All she was saying was just add 3 to these coordinates
because they were scrambled by the Hellbird virus.
No, they weren't scrambled by the. She sent the coordinates. She just added 3 to all the coordinates.
Why did she add 3?
To help obscure her actual position in case her message was
intercepted. So what does that have to do with the Hellbird virus?
Because the point is that that's exactly what the Hellbird virus did. She didn't use the Hellbird virus.
Oh, she was saying that was the cipher.
It was the cipher was add 3 to each coordinate, and when you can, that would make sense as an offensive thing if you're the Borg, because then you can still control the ship because you know the cipher.
Well, they should have picked a better fucking.
Hellbird sounds too much like Nightbird.
Or
exactly.
You know, like play Nightbird. That whole Nightbird shit.
Howlbard.
Nightbird.
A Howlbard.
They even talk about that in Lower Decks.
Chief O'Brien.
Okay. We gotta keep things moving here.
So anyway, so they were. Wait, just to sum that up. To sum it up. Right. To sum that up, they were saying he was asking like, well, what's out there, and then to which case Picard was just like,
whoa, what's out there?
Nothing at all.
That's what he said.
Nothing at all.
And then that made me. That's why you heard earlier.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
That's
Nothing
like
at all.
sexy Flanders.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at
Nothing
all.
at all.
Nothing 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 at all.
Okay.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
We are on a schedule
Nothing
here.
at all.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Rafi.
Didn't that remind you of that a little bit?
Yes.
When I
it
heard
did.
that, I
Sure, dude.
I mean, when you played it just now, yes, it reminded me. When I'm watching the show, no, it didn't.
Patrick's getting a little worried.
Where do you
I'm
come
not
up
worried.
with
It's
this
just
stuff?
we only have so much time in this podcast.
He's so worried right now. He's so worried right now.
I'm not worried. I'm concerned.
That's the same fucking thing.
We're coming in on an
First,
hour. here.
first you're not afraid, you're concerned. Now you're not worried, you're concerned. Okay,
All right.
fine.
Rafi is on
What's the
Metalis
deal with Rafi?
Prime.
man?
She's on this
There's
sinister
so many questions I have.
casino planet. I feel bad for Rafi's character sometimes because they give her so much exposition that's just like it's like the exposition they couldn't bother to build into the plot better.
Yeah, right.
And Michelle Hurd is fantastic, but she has trouble sometimes
So-
having to deal with some of this nonsense.
So they did a fake out to make you think that she was still addicted to drugs
Right,
or whatever. And she
yeah.
even had a moment where she looked towards like the audience and was looking at the drugs and
Well,
was like,
yeah.
oh, I'm so tempted right now. Now I couldn't tell if like that was if she was
No,
actually tempted.
it seems
or
like that's what they're going to do. It seems like they're going to do a little bit of a rehash of the first season of her having some substance abuse problems. And I don't have any fundamental problem with that other than they kind of went over that earlier on.
Yeah, right.
And honestly, it could be that they work it into the plot in some like super awesome way, but I don't know.
Because when somebody finds out her like Starfleet records or whatever, like the computer or some shit,
Yeah.
like that's old. Like
Her
when
handler.
she was discharged.
Yeah, she was
like,
brought back
That
and
was
had a-
back in the day. That was
Yeah.
before Picard. Like
she-
it wasn't
and
like
she-
she joined back up with Starfleet and some shit happened.
Exactly.
Like,
And she was doing all sorts of clever stuff in the
yeah.
in the intervening time.
Yeah.
Right. So, what was that fucking handler shit? So I guess
I
we'll
don't
find
know.
out.
That's
Oh,
one of
that
those
was
que- I've
Worf.
got so many-
It's got to be Worf.
That's got to be Worf.
Yeah, it's a secret.
'cause he said he's a
secret spy
warrior.
handler is talking about warriors.
Oh fuck. Yeah.
It's got to be Worf.
Oh my
It's like,
god.
you are a warrior.
Oh my god.
Type.
I'm so stupid.
Snap.
I mean, no. Look,
I didn't
maybe
see
it's
that
not.
one.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's some other person. But I think
it's not
we know
Jordan.
Worf is in the show.
It threw me off, and if this was what they were trying to do,
Maybe it's lore.
if they're hiding the character, it's going to be somebody we know.
if they got me on this, then they got me on this. But I was confused because it sounded like a computer robot because it is a computer
Yeah.
voice. But the way it responded made it sound like it was some kind of AI response or something. But really, Worf just has no personality, or he does, but he talks like a
He's-
robot.
some
He's
of
a
it comes
cold. He's a cold.
I
fella.
also
He's a
think
cold fella. He does have personality.
When Worf says "speak freely,"
He's got
or when the typing thing says "speak freely," that also doesn't seem like
Yeah.
a computer thing. That seems more like a Worfish or Picardish type thing to.
Well, right. So I
say.
got
Now
the
it could be somebody else.
No,
I don't know.
I got the impression that
It is
the,
very
the
Klingon.
warrior thing made me think Klingon.
Well,
It is.
right,
It had a
and-
Klingon vibe to it. Now that you mentioned,
And I know
it
it wasn't an AI because they were talking about meeting face to face and all that, but it was like that whole part fucking confused me for a bit. But I think Worf makes a lot of sense.
That didn't occur to me.
And then they kept talking about this Red Lady was the whole thing. They might as well call this the next Red Lady generation, if you know what I'm saying.
No, I
That's
don't.
the name of the episode?
I don't know what
Find
you're.
the red lady.
The next instead of the next generation, they called
understand.
it the next Red Lady generation.
I don't understand. Are you playing another audio
They
clip?
said Red Lady 9 times in this episode.
Really?
You want to hear them all?
Okay. Yes. I
Here
do.
it goes.
I heard something's going down with the Red Lady.
The red lady? On the red lady. The red lady.
Find the red lady.
Red lady.
Red lady. Red lady.
Maybe the red lady isn't a buyer.
Maybe not.
Right.
And maybe the Red Lady
And they
isn't
show the red.
isn't
lady.
the statue of Rachel Garrett. Maybe that is a red herring,
Oh,
and that the Red Lady is in
Whoa.
fact
Who's Rachel Garrett?
Rachel Garrett is the captain of the USS Enterprise C,
Oh,
who helped in yesterday's Enterprise protected the Klingons, which ended the
people also search
Great
for
Mate, helped them go to peace.
okay.
people also search for Captain John Harriman,
The
who was played by that.
that's because he was the captain of the Enterprise B.
and he was that guy in Ferris Bueller movie.
He was also that guy in Ferris Bueller movie.
Which guy?
As you put it, which is the Russian version of the, movie. Anyway,
the principal.
No, the nerdy kid.
Oh,
His stressed out friend.
that guy. Yes, of course. I'm sorry. That's from that movie.
uh,
I saw that.
the
movie.
Red Lady may be a red herring because it could be the red lady is Beverly Crusher because she famously had red hair. It could be that the red lady is. Remember when Raffi is doing her Google search and the results are much less comprehensive than if she had used Chat GPT.
Oh, I remember that.
It's funny that Star Trek has within the span of a month, the newest Star Trek has become completely defunct.
Yeah.
We were like, why are the results so stupid from the computer?
Well, they still, they have to go with it. They still have the pads, which, by the way, she was able to break that pad. And like, have you ever tried to break like a tablet or a phone? It's not that easy.
Because the future is not as good as today.
Yeah. They didn't have Gorilla Glass or whatever.
Yes. Or Gorilla Glue. The glue or the marijuana strain.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was something that existed.
So that's the
there's a lawsuit.
That's a strain.
There's a strain of marijuana called Gorilla Glue.
Was there a lawsuit?
But then the Gorilla Glue people sued all the various people who made the strain, so they renamed the strain GG or something. Which, I mean, a lot of people still call it Gorilla Glue. But that's for a different podcast.
It'll always be Gorilla Glue to me.
For this podcast, we can move along to
home.
The Picard and Riker take over the Enterprise A, kind of.
Right.
Kind of like old man style.
Because the captain sucks.
Right. So, Picard, like, he was talking about, like, Riker was talking, it's like, Picard, give one of those sour faces that you're known for, or whatever, right? And Picard gives its like face, but that didn't look like a sour Picard.
It wasn't
face.
that
wasn't a sour Picard face,
and he doesn't have sour faces.
He has a face where he squinches his mouth like that, but it's much more stern.
Like Picard doesn't goof around, but he's not like this like overly stern asshole. Like
early season Picard,
maybe early, but
he's not famous for that anymore.
No,
presumably.
he's not.
But
famous
got me thinking.
He's always smiling and making goofy jokes.
Well, like his old character in TNG, and this is from a quote from earlier, but I have to play it because just in this line. Okay. The reason I record this line.
Okay.
I want a new adventure.
That one.
I want a new adventure.
Yeah.
Back in the days of TNG, he would have been all like, I want a new adventure. I want a new adventure. I want a new adventure. I want a new adventure.
Well,
I want a new adventure. I want a new adventure. I want a new adventure. Not like
I want a new adventure.
I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying it's good or bad.
I would like a new adventure, please. Could I have one medium adventure, please?
I want a new adventure.
Just a little bit of an adventure.
I want a new adventure.
Could I get a side of curly fries?
Now, can you tell me what's around going on a new adventure?
Go really high, really low.
So I didn't say it was good or bad, but I noticed that was like Picard. Was a little different. So Riker and Picard, like, they take over the ship, right? Now this guy Captain Shaw is being,
I mean, they don't really take it. That's my point.
They don't.
They try to have. They
just escape from the ship.
Yeah, they try to. They figure this plan's going to work, and we meet Captain Shaw. And by the way, the having him eating food before they show up is one of the most efficient ways I've ever seen in a television program to make somebody out to be a complete piece of shit.
I know, right?
Like just an utter piece of shit. It's just
what was he like? I started early because your personalities precede you.
Your fame or whatever. Your reputations precede you.
Yeah,
I wanted to hurry up and eat my food so I could leave.
So there were several. This was a Mr. Passive Aggressive dick piece of shit asshole. He started dinner early, right? He disses on Picard's choice of wine. He's
but
like,
he takes it with him. He's like, I'm gonna take this back to my room and drink it.
That's right. Yeah. Then he talked down to Riker because of his choice in music, which was related to bourbon.
Like, I like structure.
Yeah, right.
Because he's listening to Chopin.
Right, and he's openly aggressive about their history. He's like a couple of buckaroos or whatever, basically saying like, you guys are chaos.
He's one of those guys.
And then when like Picard tries to like be like, I'm an admiral, he's like, oh, you retired. Congratulations on that, by the way. Which is like super, just letting him know he has no sway with them. And then when he's like, I love you guys, I really do. It's like, no, of course you don't. And then he says he hopes they enjoy their rooms, which obviously he hopes they don't because he gave them the shittiest ones.
They give them bunk beds,
lower decks style.
Now this guy
accommodations.
This guy is a total dick, but on the same time,
he's got 100% correct.
Yeah, like these people
This is Captain Jellicoe.
That's true.
This is a Captain Jellicoe style thing where it's like, man, this guy sucks so bad, but it's hard to argue with any of his individual points. Troy should be wearing a proper uniform.
I mean,
it's classic, like, it's the other captain. Whenever you have a Star Trek show and there's the main captain on the show, they're always the cool captain, and any other captain is kind of, that captain's not.
It's a matter of perspective because from this guy's,
it is.
From this
Hey,
guy's,
that's an episode of TNG that we
boy.
discussed. A matter of perspective.
A matter of.
Did we discuss that one?
I guess.
I think we did.
So Captain Shaw, from Captain Shaw's perspective,
We should if we haven't.
From Captain Shaw's perspective, he's like, "This is my ship. You guys are making a surprise visit on me out of fucking nowhere. You're questioning my shit. You're not giving me any warning. You're getting all up in my grill, and he's got a chip on his shoulder about it. He's bitter. And so, like, you can, and on top of that, he suspects they're up to some bullshit anyways.
Yeah.
He totally knows they're up to some bullshit.
Yeah, of course
especially
they are.
Especially
Like-
when Picard is, like, naming the wrong station.
Okay,
And so,
like Picard and Riker like show up on your ship like all out of the blue. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Like, not only is it
Something's up.
it's disrespectful, and he knows that something's up from his point of view. Now, I hope we see this guy more in the future because I want to learn more about this guy.
I think we will.
I hope
he
so.
fucking sucks.
Because I'm afraid we won't, and because there's different ways they could take this guy. They could take him to be the total asshole character, or they could make him sympathetic in a way. I think they're going to go the way of the total asshole character simply because he's racist.
There's a
You think they're going to make him racist
There's a
because he's
precedent.
racist against Borg?
Because he's racist against Borg. I think that's why they're going to. That's
ex-Borg.
I think that's evidence enough to suggest that they're going to take.
If I had to guess,
And, but like maybe what they might do is they might go for the double fake out and say like this guy actually has like some personal like shit, like his family got killed by a bunch of Borg or something horrible happened to this guy.
I don't think they'll do that.
From Borg.
I think they'll.
In which case he would be minorly sympathetic.
I think he's still a piece of shit personality wise, but then he does he shows a great deal of competence or something,
Right.
as a captain.
Like
and
he's got
help save the day.
Well, see, and that's
it's hard to tell.
Maybe he comes and saves them from
I don't know.
the scary people at the end of the episode, for example.
He talks a lot
They're
about
nearby.
order and structure, but like
Order.
all we've seen of him, and this was only at one day, but all we've seen of him is that he's off on his own. He goes back to his quarters and drinks, and Seven's running the show as the executive officer.
Well, I think he's probably on break at that point.
Okay, like maybe he is on break, but that's all we've seen of him. We don't
Right.
see him as a captain taking an active hand. He's
I
the
think-
guy that's hiding in the back.
I think he's just like totally put off by these people and is just like, you're not showing me order and you're adding chaos to the situation,
Yeah,
so fuck
yeah.
off. And like, you guys deal with
I think
this
the
shit.
added clue, however, is that we also have Seven's perspective, and Seven certainly doesn't seem to have a particularly large amount
Right.
of respect
She was
for
like,
him.
she was like, lower your expectations.
Right,
Yeah.
so it makes me wonder if he's
Like,
either
fuck this
he's either
guy.
competent or has some sense of honor. They could take in that direction. It's like hard to see because he's got that racist bit about him, unless they introduce some personal connection to him and the Borg that give him like some kind of reason he
Maybe.
hates the Borg.
It's Star Trek.
But-
Star Trek is going to be all like, the racist people can be heroes too. That'll be like the super progressive thing.
I think they're just going to play this guy off as an asshole, and I don't think we're going to see much more.
I
of
bet
him.
we'll see them next episode because I think they're going to swoop in and.
Well,
and save
I
them.
hope so.
He's
But
gonna keep
first-
eating his spinach steak with these nuts reduction
With some from under cheese.
from under cheese.
At
all
half
the
warp,
time.
double the speed, split the difference.
It's
Like, what the
interesting to
fuck?
see Seven here
I didn't follow that at all.
because it didn't make sense. But we meet Seven here, who looks great in the uniform. It's really interesting.
Whoa,
to see.
Patrick.
No, I don't mean in a. I don't think like
That's
that.
not what he means.
Whoa.
It's just that Seven wanting to be in Starfleet,
Mhm.
despite her
works.
current discomfort, that was a long held
Hello, beautiful.
dream for her.
Is that what you're saying, Patrick?
Hello, beautiful.
I don't think I heard that.
Hello,
I was
beautiful.
trying to get at the point about her having a discomfort in that uniform because it is restrictive, and she has that conversation with
Right.
Picard about.
She's a freebooter.
She's like, I don't know when I'm supposed to like follow orders or go by instincts, and Picard's
Right.
like, yeah, dude, neither. I don't know that.
Nobody knows that.
It's life is hard.
Yeah.
You'll do fine. You'll do what you need to do. Which is what she does in this episode clearly, because she has
And
goes
she
by her
mentions
instinct.
that Janeway is all pulling
Oh,
for it,
yeah.
too. Janeway's like off camera somewhere.
Right, I was thinking about
rooting for
that.
7 of 9 along with
Right,
Picard. It's
right,
it's kinda
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, they give a mention to Janeway. I'm assuming we're not going to see Janeway.
Probably not,
yeah,
but
never know.
yeah,
Who knows?
it's a cool idea.
It's maybe she's
Not
just,
saying we should. I'm just saying. I'm
well, she's
wondering.
all over Prodigy. So
right.
Yeah,
She's got.
yeah.
She's,
but yeah, so I don't, that was it was a cool exchange. It was interesting to see how they've positioned Seven of. It's one of those classic stories of when you achieve, you have a character achieve something. That
if you
they've
believe you can achieve,
that they've long wanted to achieve, and then they're faced with sort of interesting realities and navigating those realities of obtaining, like the dog that catches the car. It's like, well, what do you do with it? And it's kind of
Bite
like.
it.
It's like, maybe this isn't exactly what I thought. And so I'm very curious to see where they go with this story. My guess is they're going to keep her in Starfleet and further down the line, probably give her own show.
she seems like
Yeah.
well, the whole instinct line. She was basically just like saying like, I can't fucking do my job. If I can't do my job, why am I here? Fuck it. I'm just gonna do this shit. If they kick me out, I didn't belong here anyways. And somehow that'll earn her more respect. Yeah, like you're saying, in the end somehow, because she went out on a limb.
And
and
that
showed
captain
chutzpah.
dude's all like, "This is going to end your career," and it's like, "Come on, that's bullshit."
Yeah.
You can tell already.
You know what's not bullshit?
Like, fuck that guy.
What's not bullshit is that we're about to take a break.
Second break.
When we get back, we will hurry our asses through the remainder of this episode.
I feel like you're holding resentment, harboring resentment towards me.
I'm not holding resentment.
No. You sound like Captain Shaw. You sound like Captain Shaw.
I love you guys.
I love you guys. All right.
I really do.
We will be right back. And we're back. Oh gosh. Oh, that's good. Yes. District 7. Raffi decides to go to District 7 because she sorts out with her Googling that this Rachel Garrett statue is going to be the target of some sort of terrorist attack.
Portal gun.
She seems to be aware of the portal gun, which they call a quantum tunneling device, using the term in a way that's different from contemporary quantum physics. But using it to reference the idea of, I don't know, slurping some huge chunk of land out and plopping it down somewhere else in a sort of mini wormhole.
It seemed like it
pretty
just plopped it
badass.
on top of itself.
I think it plopped it just over. It wasn't directly on top of itself, because otherwise it would have been a loop. It was like,
Well, they could have
slid
closed
over
it.
a bit.
They could have closed it before it like fell
Yeah,
out
but
the
it killed.
top.
I think it was killing more people.
Lots
the
of
falling
people were
down.
screaming.
I think it was maximizing the damage by both destroying the building and then raining the building down upon another part.
You could
of
hear
the
those
city.
people screaming.
And you could see the Rachel Garrett statue falling in the debris because it was so bright red. So if you look closely in the debris, it's floating around down there, which is pretty tight. However, so Raffi gets to District 7, presumably also on Umtalas Prime, and witnesses this business. She tried to warn them, but I guess it didn't work.
They weren't
No,
listening.
I don't know what she gained from this knowledge.
She
like,
got
in the end.
to witness an
She got
atrocity.
to witness it,
find
but
out.
like, I mean, all she's got now is to go to the planet and start talking to people. But I guess that's what she got out of it. But she didn't stop anything, and she didn't really learn anything.
Yeah.
But
I bet she will learn something.
she will. But
in
like,
the
it's
next episode.
but it'll be. I feel like it'll be kind of coincidental that she learned something because I don't know.
They've given Raffi, again, as I said, there's a lot of exposition, and then there's even I mean, I guess you could call it like a visual exposition or something. We're seeing things through her scenes that will be necessary for the overall story,
Right.
but are a little less interesting than the other stuff going on. Yes, it's cool to watch a building collapse, I guess. I don't know. That's neat, but that's not in and of itself interesting.
Yeah.
What results from it is what may or may not be interesting down the line.
Someone want to tell me what the hell I am looking at?
You were looking at a portal gun, Shaw.
Yeah, but he wasn't. He was just looking at the
Hell of a view.
Yeah, they were in
Hell
a
of a view.
nebula.
Hell of a view.
Yes, a hell
Hell
of
of
a
a
view.
view. Hell of a view.
In the
Hell of a
nebula,
view.
there was a
hell of a view. Hell of a view. Hell of a view.
In the nebula was a hell of a view.
Bilana's on it. Bilana's on it.
Are you trying to find the next Bilana's on it? You want
Hell of
to,
a view.
It'll take you
Hell of a
forever.
view.
That
Hell of a
doesn't
view.
do it. It's good.
Bilana's on it.
But it doesn't quite get
Bilana's
there.
on it.
You don't think it's the same?
No, it's not the same at all.
Hell of a view. Hell of a view.
See? All right. So,
Okay. Well, I'm
next
trying to
up-
find. I'll find the next one. Then.
Okay.
The next one.
All right.
Next
Well-
week. Next week.
not next week.
No, next week I'll find the next. I'll find the
you'll
next.
find the next one
Balanas
next
on
week.
it.
We'll see.
What do you mean we'll see? You're saying that I can't find the next Balanas
No,
on it?
I'm saying we'll see because it depends on what sorts of audio bits and pieces are in the show.
Are you enjoying
It
this?
sounds skeptical. He sounds skeptical.
I am enjoying this. I like this whole podcasting thing. It's quite fun, especially when you're watching a pretty entertaining television program. Picard and Riker, they get in their little shuttle and they fly to the ship, and they accurately recreate, as we discussed earlier, Beverly's battle with the bird people, the bird mask people, or whatever you want to call these people.
Whatever's going on.
Whatever's going on there.
DeLorean gas.
And yeah, the DeLorean gas.
Not DeLorean.
It's DeLorean gas.
You think they had a flux capacitor back in that
miles
shit?
per hour.
And
Yeah, it's what makes time travel possible.
That's what makes time
The
travel.
flux capacitor.
I was
Runs
entertained
on
by Riker and
DeLorean gas.
Picard like talking about how like old they are, and
Yes.
Riker's hand doesn't work, or Picard's hand doesn't work, and Riker's knees all fucked up, and them sleeping on, and then also like when they were sleeping on those cots, those ensign bunks or whatever.
Riker was
like,
talking about pissing. He was like, I didn't have to remember having to get.
oh yeah, go pee every 10 minutes, right?
It's like, come on, dude.
It's the future. You should have sorted out some of that prostate business by then. Come on, future.
Well, they don't have headaches anymore. Apparently, according to
I
TNG,
know.
they don't have
There's
headaches.
no headaches.
So why do they have knee problems?
I don't know.
Yeah, why do they have pee-pee problems?
Yeah,
Well,
really.
so they find Crusher.
Take a pill, son of a
They
bitch.
find Crusher in a stasis pod, injured and needing some.
Did you say
help.
injured?
I said injured and needing some
You
help.
mean injured?
Injured.
Penguin?
What did you say? You said injured?
Injured.
Do you say
Injured?
penguin or do you say
No,
penguin?
I said injured. She's injured.
It's ING. It's
INJURED.
Injured.
Injured. She's an injured
You're
woman.
saying injured.
Somebody has injured this person.
You're saying ENJ is what you're saying. ENJ. This is like the Myers-Briggs test or whatever. It's
Injured.
fucking-
Injured.
You're saying
It's bullshit.
He's going
Is
injured.
that what you're saying?
Injured.
Do you say milk?
Mel.
Injured. Injured.
Okay, Trip Tucker the third.
DePaul. Captain. Okay, no. Star Trek Picard. That's what we're
Are
talking
you enjoying this?
I am. What were we on? Oh yes. Then the boy comes out. The guy. He's not a boy. He's like the actor's like 34 years old.
Right.
He comes out. He gets.
What's the deal with that guy?
He gets Riker. Well, I'll tell you the deal is, first of all, he's dressed like a World War. They've given them the haircut like a World War I sort of like airman officer.
Wait,
like a British officer.
Does the Traveler have the ability to change shapes?
Do you think this is the Traveler?
It's Will Wheaton.
I think his name is Jack Crusher, though. I think he's gonna.
It's Will Wheaton.
This is not Will Wheaton.
That's not Will Wheaton.
This is
This is going to be
Wesley. This is Wesley Crusher, and he's a Traveler now, so he can change. He can change into this guy.
This is some British dude.
So, but it's Wesley Crusher's at least half brother.
Presumably, if he is indeed Beverly's son, as he claims, we have no reason.
Maybe he's a bad guy, and she really was
skeptical.
trapping, and she was trapping him at the beginning because he was being a bad guy.
Well, I think we can transition a little bit into a more fulsome discussion of the predictions for this storyline, because this is one of the main things they drop here at the end. This fella, what is he? Is he Picard's son? Is he a clone of Picard? Is he?
He has a British
No,
accent.
Shinzon is a clone of Picard.
I know, but is he another clone of Picard? Is he a clone of Jack Crusher with a British accent?
Is Wesley Crusher related to Shinzon Jackson?
No.
Shinzon Jackson.
Tom Hardy. You said it, Jesse. You said it with music. No. Okay, let's forget all that stuff. It's just a matter of we don't know exactly who this guy is, but they're definitely making everybody think that he's going to be Picard's son, and that's reasonable, I guess.
Right.
And I guess they're going to say this is why Beverly cut off contact for some reason, because she wanted to secretly raise Picard's son.
Oh man.
Chief O'Brien.
No.
He is older. The son certainly looks older than 20 years old, so presumably was born more like, I don't know, Nemesis time or something like that.
Maybe he's his grandson.
Well,
And Beverly's his mom, but he's Jean-Luc's grandson.
How would that work? Because Picard does
Shinzon-
not have any.
Shinzon had
Beverly,
sex-
Beverly slept with Shinzon.
Yes.
You know what's weird? I did think about that while watching the episode. I did think that was a possibility. I discounted it for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
but the thought did enter my head.
That would be a little too like.
It would be too a lot of things.
It's like two Star Wars prequel trying to
would be
tie all the
too
things
so
together.
many things.
Too so many
It would be
things.
too so many things. House of the Dragon and whatnot.
Oh no!
all sorts of reference to other things. All right. So that's going to be interesting. What is this gentleman? What's his situation and relationship to the other people, and why are people after him?
I want to know, like, with that shuttle.
Do you want to know what love is?
No, when
I want you to show
when
me.
Picard and Riker escaped in that shuttle, why didn't Captain Shaw just like tractor beam them back?
That's a good question.
Like it seemed
Maybe
like
they don't
had
have
the
tractor
power.
beams anymore.
I don't believe that to be true.
I know, right? Why would that be?
Like, why didn't they just tractor beam them?
If Picard and them were able to hack into the shuttle, because presumably you can't just walk into an open shuttle and just fly away. You have to have some codes and stuff.
That's the other thing. Like when
override codes.
When Riker and Picard were talking to Shaw about like taking
our shields are dropping.
Raise them. When he was talking to Captain Shaw about like
codes.
When he was talking to Captain Shaw about Picard, Alpha 1, Beta, Kappa, what was it? What is the fucking... He gave one of his codes again.
Yes. He vocalizes one of his codes.
He vocalizes the...
he's always doing
Alpha
that.
Tango something.
Alpha
then
Tango.
you know what he's... And anybody can take over the Enterprise after
47 Alpha Tango, you're right. So... When Picard and Riker went to Captain Shaw and were like, hey, we want to borrow the ship to do some shady business... You can't just do that. Imagine there's a protocol.
You can't do that?
Like you were talking about paperwork.
What were they thinking?
Paperwork to be able to take a shuttle out. Don't you think there'd be
a form?
Don't you think there'd be a form to fill out to say like, hey, Picard and Riker are going to come over and try to hijack your ship? But they didn't do that.
Like somebody already told that captain what to do. Like these old dudes like showing up being like, hey, let's do this instead. Like no way.
That's why you can't be too mad at the captain because he did
No,
exactly
that's
what he was
exactly
supposed to do.
Right, because somebody would tell you like, hey, this is we've approved this.
It doesn't change the fact that he's a piece of shit, but like
Yeah.
he was doing what he's supposed to do.
Anyways, yeah, you're talking about hack the shuttle bay. Like, yeah, they were able
Hack
to
the system.
Hack the system. They were able to hack the Matrix.
So some other things to talk about, some other predictions. These enemy bird people, creatures, or whatever. There's references to
They're plague doctors with those big noses.
Their faces are always changing, whatever that means. So people have posited online, maybe they're changelings. Maybe they are holograms.
Holograms?
Maybe they are
Hologram. Hologram. Holograms?
Photo generated holograms. Hologram. Holograms. Hologram. Photo generated holograms.
So maybe they are
Photo
indeed
generated
holograms, or some, who knows, just some other alien. Maybe they are the aliens from the Fifth Element.
Holograms?
I like the idea of them being holograms in some sort of like fleshy bodies, as some sort of whatever, some sort of scheme, and I don't know. You could do something interesting with that. It'd be different than this normal alien stuff, but anyway.
I don't know. We haven't figured out what their deal is yet.
We also see another thing that's interesting is that Riker seems to indicate that there's some problems at home.
Oh, right, yeah.
That was
It was a weird vibe where he was all like, "No, they don't like me, man."
Picard gave him a weird look, like, "What's going on?
What did you do, asshole?"
Yeah, I'm really curious what he
made a bad pizza.
Maybe he was like,
one too many bad pizzas,
sleeping around with the lady who runs the.
He was.
The bait and tackle shop.
Maybe he was fondling like dead creature ash like too much.
Yes, you mean at home?
Maybe that's a thing he had.
Maybe he was getting too many dead creatures. He was making too many dead creatures to make the ash to fondle.
Ash to fondle.
I think this ash was somewhat unusual though.
Yeah,
but I presume we'll learn a little bit more about that later. Any other things that are like sort of predicty type things? Well, like with the whole enemy beyond like what they are, we don't know much beyond I guess using terrorism is a thing that they're doing. So that can give you some clues, I guess, as to at least their purposes. You know, looking
Well,
at
if
their
that's even the
methodologies.
same people.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is
Probably.
we don't know that either, but there does seem to be some connection between the two. But although, you know, maybe that's just
you never know.
an error on my part. But
It could be. This whole thing could be really fucked up.
but we shall see.
At the edge of Federation space was all spooky and zowie. The space, space doesn't really look like
Well,
that.
I mean, I don't think I didn't even consider this. I hope it isn't what you were implying. I just thought it just happened to be there's a cool nebula.
Yeah,
there.
I thought it was just a nebula.
I didn't think it was like that the edge of Federation.
No,
I just thought, you know, like
no, I know that wasn't. I know it didn't.
It's like a mountain marking the.
I mean, that's kind of like
border.
what Discovery did something like that for the edge of the.
Well, TOS did
galaxy.
that too. TOS and Star Trek V also had the edge of.
Yeah.
Either,
So no, I
either
didn't.
the inside. It was both the outside and the inside of the galaxy.
No, I know it wasn't like supposed to be like the
goofiness.
edge of the galaxy was just a giant nothingness, but
Also the nth degree.
I just thought it was like it was an interesting coincidence. Like, how often do you see these? Like, nebulas aren't really visible like that. My understanding is like
Well, some of them are. It depends on where the light's hitting them and what angle
Yes,
you're looking at them.
but I think
you're
a-
right that if you were in the nebula, it wouldn't look the same.
Like when they take those pictures of space, like they do all sorts of shit to the photos to make the things visible.
Yeah, but there's still stuff that's visible. You can
Visible?
look through visible. You can look through a telescope, see, and you can see some of these things.
It just seemed like coincidental that you'd have such a beautiful looking thing, like
Well,
just
yeah.
visible to the naked eye, like right
Obviously, and yes,
Okay, but I'm not going to complain about that because that's a silly thing to
okay.
complain about.
It's just
It's silly to make things look beautiful, or to complain about. I take it back. It's silly to complain about. It's silly to complain about making things look beautiful. That's what I meant to say.
I wanted to comment on the overall CGI and special effects and all that stuff. I think everything looks pretty. Everything's really sort of creatively designed. There's a lot of interesting camera angles. Visually, I found it a lot more interesting than some of the stuff we saw previously on Picard. Picard, famous for its season 1 finale with the cookie cutter spaceships that everyone, I think, rightly sort of lambasted, having a huge fleet of literally identical ships.
Right.
So we're getting a lot more visual fun here. I thought the main space station, you know, at Earth, that looked gorgeous. The inside looked great, making you think of Star Trek 3 and Star Trek 6 is another callback, like with the going quarter impulse flying out and all that other jazz. That being said, I feel it doesn't have a lot of weight to it. And it's a minor complaint because they do get to do all this other stuff that you couldn't do with models and things like that. So I dig all that. But there isn't that kind of heft to it.
Something about...
And it's not just CGI, because I've seen CGI that manages to pull off that weight.
Something about the Titan leaving the space station, that shot of it was like a side view, a profile of it leaving. It's something about it like...
Little
looked
TAS.
Yeah.
It looked a little TAS style.
Yeah, it did kind of, right. Yeah.
It was a goofy looking Enterprise.
It like looked cool, but like it looked something a little like Uncanny Valley, which TAS was, because it was that weird filmation stuff based on real.
Again, it's not. Maybe it's a nitpick, but I just thought that you know it's not 100% perfect, and especially when you compare it to Strange New Worlds, which I thought had some really impressive.
Someone's going to take that quote out of
effects.
context and say like the It's Got Star Trek podcast. It's not 100% perfect. Patrick.
We'll be lambasted.
Yeah, Patrick Ireland.
Like,
so now everything has to be 100% perfect? Anyway, sorry. Continue.
Oh, I thought that was basically all I was going to say. Although there were a couple other things that aggravated me. While I did it from in terms of sort of the individual components, I did like the various musical references. They had the TNG fanfare. They had the TMP, the motion picture version of the fanfare. They had Star Trek 6, hints of Star Trek 6 music in there. First Contact. Yeah, that was all kind of cool. Here's the problem I had with it. It was just sort of thrown in randomly, and it didn't necessarily connect to something that was happening on the screen. And so that was weird.
Well, they had they for some reason they had that bosun whistle, that digital bosun whistle.
Yes, so that I thought was
it was cool. I liked it, but at the same time, it kind of threw me through a loop. I was like, they still do that?
So okay. So here's the thing, right? Like like with the Star Trek 6 music, it's like, okay, yes, the scene from the space dock was sort of similar, but it wasn't like really a similar situation. I don't know. It was just like, I think it was like the music cue did not make sense.
Yeah.
The bosun thing is like, again, you're evoking a cool movie, but the wrong movies, because it's like the Star Trek 2 and versus, and the same thing with that font at the beginning. I thought it was really cool, and I wasn't mad at the font at the beginning. However, as the episode went along, I was like, oh, some of these Easter eggs are just like thrown at the wall Easter eggs.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I was commenting earlier about the space station at the shot of the establishing shot of the space station where these white lights blinking around at the top of the space station. That looked like some old 80s like Star Trek reference or something like
which
that.
I like that part.
It looked cool to me, but like you were saying, to me, it was just kind of like, whoa, that was kind of surprising.
I also thought there were some inconsistencies. I don't have particular problems with the Titan A design. It's fine. It's not my favorite thing.
The design is fine.
It looks the Enterprise A.
It looks sort of clunky, right? However, the Titan A, there's a confusing thing here. It looks like a brand new ship. It doesn't look anything like the Titan, which we've seen on Lower Decks, and you can see it in the other CGI stuff online and in the online game and all that business. So this shares no like design relationship with the original Titan, which is already weird. But then it's sometimes referred to as it seems like they're saying it's a new one, and then other times they're talking about it being a refit. Like they just rebuilt the old Titan and made it new, because there's that time where Captain Shaw is telling Riker, he's like, it took me forever to like purge the computer of your bebop bullshit.
Right.
And it's like,
so it's the same computer.
First of all, that doesn't make sense at a baseline. It's like, that's not how like supercomputers work. Is like, oh my god, just Riker just put jazz like in every part of the computer. Right. Like is an astrometrics and all the icons are like little musical notes or something. Like what? No, that's just a silly concept to begin with.
It's just
chord
theme
progressions.
I wasn't too aggravated at that, but like
every time he pressed a button, it was a new little jazz riff, and he had to like go into each system and like.
But it was just a weird inconsistency where it was If something in an episode is inconsistent with the greater lore, except in extreme cases, I'm not too worried about that. It is a little bit more frustrating when it's inconsistent within the same episode. Mm-hmm. And that's where it aggravates me a little bit, when it's like, come on, can't you like square those things? If the same thing happened with that half warp to, double warp, like all that nonsense. It's like, come on.
At half warp, double the speed, split the difference.
That's on your nay list.
Yes, that's on my 9 list. No.
Frontier Day was never a thing before. Although,
what does it even mean?
But I feel like it was, but it wasn't.
Because because there was a Federation Day.
There was a Federation Day.
And I think a lot of people online are getting it confused with the whatever this Frontier Day is.
Captain Picard Day.
So I don't think we really know what it represents yet. Who knows? Maybe this adventure wraps up like right as Frontier Day happens.
Which is
Picard and Riker show up just in time to give their speeches. They're all out of breath, and then their speech
it's a Christmas miracle,
and speech just happens to tie up the whole season.
Which was
Captain Picard's all like, memories. I used to think memories were bullshit, but it turns out memories are quite keen.
Which was the Which was the what day? What special day was it on the episode where Picard was all like, "He's my number one dad"? Which one was that?
Wasn't that Picard Day?
That was Picard Day, right?
Oh,
and which did they reference on Lower Decks? Did they reference on one of those days on Lower?
Well, there's that, but there's also the Bajorians. The Gratitude Festival is a Bajorian.
But I thought there was a
holiday.
Federation one too. I don't remember. It's not important.
They had a Captain Day.
The Captain's Day. Maybe that's okay.
For whatever the name is.
The only other, I guess, the other predictive thing is, what is this whole deal with Beverly? Why did she?
What's the deal with Beverly?
It's low hanging fruit.
Yes, it is. It's late.
We have to, because we were talking about when are we gonna find out about what goes on with what happened? Why did Beverly cut everyone off? Was it for their own good? We don't know. Mm-hmm. There was some weird line about only humans have spring cleaning, which was wasn't sure what that meant. It's like, that's kind of funny. The thing that humans, we've mentioned this before, but the things that humans are known for in any kind of fantasy or sci-fi is the humans are the most
fastidious,
all around
fastidious.
They don't min-max at all. They're all just they have a little bit of everything. Right. So it's like
even our spring cleaning.
So spring cleaning meaning most other species, they don't care enough about stuff to have enough stuff to.
That sounds like the Romulan was just making some shit up.
Well, it did. But I'm thinking
it's like only humans have that. It's like no, just Romulans don't.
No, because humans can't decide. Humans have a lot of shit, but they can't decide. humans have a lot of shit, but they can't decide whether or not to get rid of it. Like there's other species probably that don't give a shit about stuff, so they never have enough stuff to clean. But then you have other people like the Ferengi who love stuff, but they would never have a spring cleaning day because they would never get rid of all their shit like that. They'd sell it. So it's either meeting. This is another example of humans being in the middle. It's like
it is slightly believable, and I think it's just Romulan nonsense.
It's like humans have a lot of stuff, but they also want to get rid of their stuff. Whereas every other race either wants to keep all their stuff always or get rid of their stuff always. And humans are always in the middle, and that's how.
I dig it, man.
Yeah,
and then this is never.
Captain Shaw is catching up on some logs.
That's what I meant to do before the show.
Do you think that meant he was taking a shit?
But I didn't. So I'm gonna have to duck out to the bathroom soon.
Oh, is that because it's a shit?
Captain Shaw is catching up on some logs.
Yeah, that was a shit joke.
All right. But it wasn't a shit joke. It was a pretty good joke.
Oh yeah, right.
All right.
Yeah. Hey. That's a double entendre.
It is. I think we've covered the majority of things we intended to cover for this particular episode. Next week, you know what we're going to talk about next week, Dan?
Oh, there was one more.
Episode 2.
This isn't a point. There's a compilation I made because I made the Red Lady compilation and the sound compilation.
Do you think the Red Lady is the Tal Shiar person who died at her father's hands? I think that the Red Lady is a red herring, and that Google search was correct, and that it's going to somehow relate to the Tal Shiar.
You think it's the Red Angel?
I think it's going to turn
Discovery?
out could be the Red Angel from Discovery, but I think it's going to be the Tal Shiar lady who died. I think she didn't die.
I think she hangs out in the Hellbird because
like the crazy
because
one?
hell is red with fire. Speaking of Hellbird,
okay,
Hellbird. Repeat, Hellbird.
Hellbird. The word Hellbird. Hellbird.
I heard something's going down with the Red Lady.
The Red Lady? On the Red Lady. The Red Lady.
Find the Red Lady.
Red Lady.
Red Lady. Red Lady.
Maybe the Red Lady isn't a buyer.
I won't play the alien noises because that was like 15 seconds long.
Okay, all right. Well, we appreciate that, and we appreciate you, and our new listeners appreciate you.
I hope so.
If they've made it this far, then they're going to continue listening. We've done our job there. With regard to the new listeners, hopefully we've done our job with regard to our regular listeners as well.
Ooh, yeah, that's tricky.
So we shall find out. We shall find out soon enough, boys. Okay, so
what's in store for It's Got Star Trek?
Next week we will be talking about Star Trek Picard season 3, episode 2, which is titled Disengage, because they put out the titles of like at least 6 of the episodes ahead of time. So that's cool. So we actually know some of the titles.
Oh, so that's your favorite when you know them ahead of time.
So Disengage, and Picard he's famous for using the phrase engage. So disengage is, that's going to be a change for him in life.
I get
Disengage.
I get it.
Disengage.
Nothing at all.
Disengage. Nothing at all. So that's what we're going to be talking about. In the meantime, we do ask, now that you've listened to this entire thing, that you go to your local podcast player or website, and you click on the high ratings. Ideally, I mean, you can put whatever rating you want, but the higher ratings are better. And you can put like a little comment saying like, these guys, Star Trek. And then that helps us.
Sometimes they talked about.
Then we get more new listeners, and that's just great.
Just so you know, the sound effects is a new thing, so we're still working out the kinks with that.
Totally, yeah.
Dan's totally lying to you. We've had sound effects in all 172. Dan has been doing these sound effects,
and it's just gotten worse and worse.
It's not something that he started just a few episodes ago.
It's difficult to try to talk and concentrate and figure out ways to insert sound effects and find the right ones at the right time and do it. It's multitasking. It's like chewing gum and falling asleep at the same time.
Sometimes it's totally the wrong time.
So you're just going to have to step up, Dan. Keep stepping up. You've done a great job so far. Put on 110%. Okay.
That's impossible.
Yes. Next week, more Star Trek Picard, and continuing on.
It was Star Trek, baby.
And if you're looking for more of these, we got this whole back library. Back library. We got tons of episodes.
172 fucking episodes.
We got episodes about every single Star Trek series that exists out there. So just go scroll back or go to the website, www.itsgotstartrek.com, because you can sort by series at the website and do some other things. You can email us at feedback@itsgotstartrek.com. Social media, that's cool. Go check us out on social media at It's Got Star Trek on Twitter, Mastodon, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We're all over the place.
It's not really a plan, it's a ruse.
Yeah. Yes. That was
It's a
another
ruse.
Interesting argument they were having there. Okay. So I think we've said all the important things to say this week. So we look forward to talking at you again approximately the same time next week. And in the meantime, we hope everything goes relatively well for everyone. So with that, we'll say a hearty goodbye.
Good to see you, Will. Look at you. The handsome elder statesman of Starfleet.
I gotta make a speech at that frontier thing next week. It's like a parade through space. Wants to hear some old fart drone on about going boldly for the last 250 years.
I'm giving a speech too.
And that's gonna be great.